I was a CIA agent during the Cold War, sent to the Soviet Union on a top-secret mission. My job was to gather intel on the Soviets' military capabilities and movements. It was a dangerous task, but one that I was well prepared for. My cover story was that I was a businessman looking to invest in the Soviet economy. I had a fake passport and a convincing backstory. I spent weeks studying the culture and customs of the area, perfecting my accent and memorizing my new identity. I was ready. I arrived in Moscow and was immediately taken aback by the sight of the city. It was dark, cold, and dreary. The Soviet Union was not a friendly place, especially for Americans. I was assigned to work with a local contact, a man named Alexei. He was a former KGB agent who had defected to the United States years ago. He had been living in the Soviet Union under an assumed identity for years, waiting for an opportunity to help the CIA. Alexei was a valuable asset, but he was also a loose cannon. He had a reputation for being reckless and unpredictable. I knew that I had to keep a close eye on him if I wanted to survive this mission. We spent weeks gathering intel, attending meetings, and networking with key players in the Soviet military. We even managed to plant a bug in a high-level official's office, giving us access to classified information. Using the bug we had planted, Alexei and I were able to gather valuable intel on the Soviet military's plans and capabilities. However, we soon realized that the official had access to even more sensitive information that could change the course of the Cold War. We knew that we had to get our hands on this information, but it would require a risky operation. The official was highly guarded, and any attempt to steal the information would be met with severe consequences if we were caught. We spent weeks planning and preparing for the operation. We scouted out the official's residence, studied his routines and habits, and gathered intel on his security detail. We even managed to recruit a local asset who had access to the official's inner circle. Finally, the day of the operation arrived. Alexei and I, along with our local asset, snuck into the official's residence under the cover of night. We carefully made our way to his office, where we knew the classified information was kept. As we searched through the office, we realized that the information was not in physical form, but rather stored on a computer. We quickly got to work, trying to crack the password and gain access to the files. After several tense moments, we finally succeeded in accessing the files. We quickly copied them onto a flash drive and made our way out of the office. However, our escape was not as smooth as we had hoped. The official security detail had discovered our presence and were hot on our trail. We had to fight our way out of the residence, using every bit of training and skill we had acquired to fend off our attackers. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we made it to safety. We quickly analyzed the information we had obtained and realized that it was even more valuable than we had initially thought. It contained details of the Soviet Union's secret missile program, which could potentially shift the balance of power in the Cold War. We knew that we had accomplished our mission, but at a great cost. The Soviet Union would be even more vigilant in protecting its secrets, and we would be hunted more fiercely than ever before. But for the moment, we were able to revel in the knowledge that we had made a significant contribution to the fight against communism. The information we had obtained about the Soviet missile program was explosive. We had uncovered evidence that the Soviets were in the final stages of developing a new type of missile that was capable of hitting targets in the United States with unprecedented accuracy. This was a game-changer in the Cold War arms race, and it meant that the United States was no longer the sole superpower with the ability to threaten its enemies with nuclear weapons. As soon as we confirmed the authenticity of the intel, we knew that we had to get it back to Washington as quickly as possible. We had to make sure that the president and his advisors were aware of the danger posed by this new missile, and that they had time to develop a response. But getting the intel out of the Soviet Union was easier said than done. We knew that the KGB would be looking for us, and that they would stop at nothing to recover the classified information. We had to come up with a plan that would allow us to leave the country undetected. We decided to split up and travel separately to different parts of the Soviet Union, using different modes of transportation. I would take the train to Leningrad, while Alexei would fly to Kiev. From there, We would make our way to the American Embassy in Vienna, where we would be debriefed and the intel would be sent back to Washington. The journey was long and arduous, but we managed to avoid detection by the KGB. We made it to Vienna, and the information we had gathered was quickly passed up the chain of command. The president was briefed on the new Soviet missile program, and he ordered the intelligence agencies to take all necessary steps to counter the threat. The information we had obtained was a turning point in the Cold War. The United States had been caught off guard by the Soviets before, most notably during the Cuban Missile Crisis. But this time, thanks to our work, we had the advantage. The United States responded by increasing its investment in missile defense systems and by accelerating the development of new weapons technology. The Soviets, realizing that they were now at a disadvantage, began to feel the pressure of the arms race. They struggled to keep up with the United States, and this put a strain on their economy and their military. The intelligence we had gathered had far-reaching consequences that helped shape the course of the Cold War, and for me personally, it was a reminder of the importance of our work. As a CIA agent, I had to be ready to put myself in harm's way in order to protect my country and its interests. The work was never easy, but it was always necessary.